Hey, face front, true believers, how we doing today? I am Cap here with my trusted assistant, Frosty.
I don't know if I'm
No,
doing it from your
you're definitely
assistant, but
not. Wow, what a way to what a way to botch the intro. Welcome to welcome to Pitch Nerds. I am Cap here with my good pal Frosty. Welcome to our premiere episode, where you have a couple of nerds, and we're just going to be talking some nerd talk, right? That's about what we're going to do.
that's the plan. Basically, the idea started with Cap and I talking about how we always hear ideas for movies, and we wanted to do our own pitches. I think you put it best as if someone gave you a bag of money,
Yes.
what would you do with it to make a movie?
Yeah, so if I mean, we've all been there, especially lately with me. Don't get me started. But you'll be watching a movie, and you get a discussion with people. It's like, man, I wish I could have done this, or if I could have told the movie, I would have done it this way, or why do they have to do that to this character when they could have done this? So what we're doing here at Pitch Nerds is we're going to do exactly that. We are nerds who are going to pitch our ideas of popular franchises, whether it be movies, video games, etc., etc., and we will tell you how we would do it if a studio were to give us a big bag of money. But the caveat is, again, we have to stick that pitch. Not like I stuck the intro there. um, that's the
Yeah, it's pretty much us. Before we get in, I think this week we're actually going to be doing Star Wars.
yes,
Basically, our idea for a Star Wars movie. Really, no parameters other than that. Just has to be something we both have very different ideas as to what our ideal Star Wars movie would be.
yes,
The idea is going to be I'm going to take the first pitch. Cap will listen to me talk and give me insight as to what he thinks of my pitch. And then next week, Thursday at 6 o'clock, Cap will do his ideal Star Wars pitch.
yes.
And later, hopefully, we'd like to get some input from you guys into what you think. We have a chat, so if you're on Twitch, feel free to type in. I think you can also do that on YouTube and give us your opinions as we go along.
Yes.
Before we get into the pitches, we just thought we'd take a second and talk about any TV shows, movies, or anything that we're really excited about right now. So, Cap, what kind of what shows are you watching at the
So,
moment? What do
you
you?
know what? I am in love with WandaVision. Um, I'm getting more and more excited over the Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars junkie, and I'm kind of both satisfied yet over the Mandalorian, but I'm so depressed that we have to wait another year to see such a good show come back. I'm actually really excited for the Marvel stuff that's coming up. I'm sure eventually we will do some form of Marvel pitch. Again, I'm stoked for WandaVision. I am. There's actually talks of Ian McKellen being the big surprise cameo in WandaVision. You hear about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking. WandaVision's been fantastic so far. I mean, I think anyone who's a big comic fan like myself instantly recognizes, several influences like House of M, certainly being the big one, and it's all taken from the point of a mystery. And yeah, they're doing a great job. Looks like it started off with the whole sitcom thing, and now I think we're getting a little preview of action, which is going to be
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. Do you think that
Um,
there's an underlying villain, or do you think it's all Wanda?
I think it's Wanda.
I think
There's
it's all
no.
Wanda.
I think she's. I know some people have other ideas. Yeah, but I think she is.
What
And I
about
think
Mephisto? A lot of
that's a
people have
better
been
choice. You don't need
speculating
a villain to be
Mephisto.
evil.
Mephisto,
Yeah.
you ever thought of that?
Well, the Mephisto angle is possible because if you read the comics, Mephisto is tied to the. It's certainly a possibility.
Hmm. Uh, God, what else?
How's our stream doing? I thought step. No, are we good?
Yeah, should be good. Um,
All right.
welcome to the first day
But
bugs.
yeah,
What's that quote from Jurassic
yeah,
Park? In 1957, even though it was technically 55, when Disneyland opened, nothing worked, which is true.
yeah.
But the date was way off, buddy. It's 1955.
Tell you what I'm excited with Disney Plus. The other day you and I were talking about the comic book Single Green Female,
Hmm.
and then you mentioned that Disney is actually doing that. If you
Yes.
haven't read the comic book, it's great. It's Hulk, and there's other stuff, but the most interesting part is her being a lawyer and how it affects superhero culture. And they sue J. Jonah Jameson on behalf of Spider-Man.
That's
But
fantastic.
the lawyer team doesn't know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, so then they also go after Peter Parker, thinking they're helping Spider-Man. It's great, and then Cap told me, "Oh, I think they're making that into a series." Lo and behold, yeah, Disney Plus is doing a She-Hulk series that's about the lawyer business. So I can't wait. I think that's going to be really good.
That's fantastic. So back to Star Wars. You and I have two varying uh, sizes of knowledge here when it comes to Star Wars. I grew up Star Wars. I am Star Wars nerd to the core. I know that you appreciate Star Wars. Probably not as much into the mythos as me. How did you go about making your script?
I like the extended universe like you have. I really only watched the main films. Um, but that's not to say. Oh, and of course, The Mandalorian, as we were talking about.
Phenomenal show.
So for me, I think the most interesting, parts of the Star Wars universe is after prequels and then before the primary three movies. I thought that was an interesting period because there's got to be other Jedi out there. And so I imagine the Empire's hunting them down.
Right.
And, Jedis aren't pushovers. So, I just thought I'd explore that area. And then in coming up with I basically wanted to look at Star Wars is they are samurais. There's a very honor system. There's and there's that like path, if you will, they must travel down.
Yeah.
And and, I think strong ability. That line is something I truly believe. And I think that's something that the Jedi have to deal with, and at the same time they're being hunted. So I thought that would be an interesting idea for a story is to go into that timeline.
It's fantastic because
If you're ready, I can go straight into
well,
it.
it's funny
Okay.
before you jump in. Really, the only thing we saw in that timeline, as far as cinematically, was Rogue One and Solo. I mean, recently, so for a long time, there's wasn't a whole lot that was explained in the at least the current canon. What happened between then and now? So, this should be interesting. I'm excited. So, for those of you who are watching, if I, the studio were to give Frosty a bag of money, this is how he would tell Star Wars. So, Frosty, proceed.
Uh, uh, and just a reminder, we do have a chat. It'll appear on the screen. So if anyone has any opinions or wants to chime in at any time, feel free to use our chat function. The working title is Star Wars: The Honor of the Jedi.
Love it.
I see. I know that they're trying to. The Star Wars said, "Oh, the crawl is only for the main movies, the Skywalker movies." But screw that. I want to crawl on my Star Wars movie. So immediately start with a classic crawl. Basically, the crawl will just be describing the events of Order 66.
Frosty, you there? Nope, I think we just lost Frosty. Well, we are having a slight technical difficulty here. Hold on one sec, guys. Welcome to the first day bugs in every show. let me get Frosty back here. So I do apologize again to those of you who are watching. We have been having some bandwidth issues with the router lately. I'm actually going to call the company tomorrow. So, day one. Well, we wait to get Frosty back online. So just again with the show and what I'd like to do as far as the audience is concerned. So as mentioned earlier, we're going to have one pitch that we're going to alternate between. So again, we're doing Star Wars right now, hence my glorious attire. We're going to alternate weeks. So one day Frosty's going to do his, the alternate week I'm going to do mine, and then afterwards we're going to have a discussion. We're going to leave it up to the viewers at home, either on Twitter or one of our other formats, if we deserve the bag of money, if you guys like the studio pitch. Also, eventually, once we develop a little bit more of a base, what I'd like to do is to have a vote system where you tell us what you would like to see us pitch for you. So let's say you're either a Babylon 5 guy, I'm going 90s sci-fi here, or maybe you are into Doctor Who. How would you like to see us do it? We're going to have that be something down the line. I do have Frosty back. Frosty, mic check, 1, 2. You there, bud?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi dropped out briefly.
Okay.
What was the last thing you heard?
So going back, let's just start. You are describing the crawl for the events following Order 66. Enter
Right.
Honor of the Jedi.
Yeah, so like I said, Order 66 is them having the clone troopers take out the remaining Jedi, and then the Empire basically stop the destruction of what was left of the Jedi. And then the rest of the crawl would describe that one of the Jedi that is fleeing to a planet, the planet Gonda, which is a planet in the outer system, is basically there trying to fix her ship. She's got her hyperdrive is down, so she can't really get anywhere at the moment. And that's where it starts. So the camera pans down from space onto the planet Gonda. We see a man, and then a boy who's about 15. They're in a deep forest. The older man, he has like an alien-looking hawk on his fist. He kind of hushes the boy. It's very clear they're hunting something. The boy listens and he stays low, and they move slowly through the woods before we see like an alien-looking rabbit kind of munching on some plants. The man kind of whispers, "We have our prey." The hawk flies after its target, and then we see a kind of dance of the apex predator versus its prey.
Love it.
As the hawk, what?
Oh, I love
What's
it.
that?
No, I love it.
Oh. As the hawk kind of closes in on the rabbit, basically, I imagine a TIE fighter would scream by, and it ends the hunt right there. The two people duck down. The man looks very puzzled. He says, "We should get away from here. Those are Empire ships." And then the boy, he goes, "What about Starfighter?" And the man laughs. He goes, "Is that what you're going to call him?" And the boy nods. He says, "He'll be fine. It's us I'm worried about. They have no real business here on Gonda." So the boy obviously named his hawk Starfighter.
I dig it.
So we cut to my main character. Her name is Daisha Teal. Tal, sorry. She's a female Kashiri. Looking at the lore, they're like a kind of lavender-skinned race that are very muscular. So I just imagine this very kind of tough, muscular, kind of think of Terminator 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
But how
where
many
she's
head
all
tentacles does she have?
she doesn't have any tentacles, but the image of her is like in my brain is like a black robe, and then you see like the little purple of her face, and then her lips.
Oh, I dig it.
And then, but when she takes off the robe and everything, she's just all like kind of stringy muscle. And she's there with her astromech droid R5D9. I looked it up. The R5 series is not anywhere near as good as the R2 series.
They are not.
So I thought that would be kind of interesting.
So just a quick pause, really quick on the lore. For those of you who don't know what an R5 unit is, if you remember back to A New Hope, when the Sandcrawler pulls up to the Lars estate and they have the droids all lined up, and you have Uncle Owen there. He picks out 3PO and he says, "All right, and the other one, come on." And it's that dumpy R2 droid that blows its motivator. That's an R5 unit.
So we cut to Daisha, who's working on her Jedi Starfighter, and she's arguing with her R5 unit. She's complaining about his lack of motivation fixing the Starfighter, and he angles wistfully and tweets and whistles at her, and he heads off in basically a huff. Daisha dismisses this, and she's grumbling at herself why she didn't replace him with a far superior R2 unit. She returns to working, and she hears that high-pitched whistling sound of TIE fighters. So 3 of them are barreling towards her. She looks into horror because R5 is far out into the valley, and she realizes she needs to save her droid. So she pulls out her lightsaber, heads face first towards the TIE fighters. And I thought this would be cool. It's nothing I've ever seen before. As they're firing at R5, she throws her lightsaber and then deflects a bolt from the TIE fighter right over R5, and then returns it back to her hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
So they basically barely make it back to their ship in time, and they take off. As soon as they take off, up in orbit is a Star Destroyer, which starts just bombing the location around her. So everything explodes. So then we got our aerial battle between her, these TIE fighters, and basically this aerial bombardment from space via the Star Destroyer. So she's fighting off the TIE fighters and dodging and massive explosions. And while that's going on, we see on the ground that couple from before, the man and the boy, they're running away from the explosions erupting around them. They get back to a small truck and begin driving away. Anyway, so the battle rages on above him. Daisha ducks low into the trees, spins over the truck before the TIE fighters chasing her hit it, causing it to flip into the side of a tree. So massive crash happens. She realizes at this point she has no hope of escape, and especially with her hyperdrive down. So she has R5 trigger a small explosion on the wing, causing her ship to barrel out and crash into a lake. A few seconds later, there's a large explosion, and then the pilots take one final pass, and then we kind of see one of them go like, "Target down, Roger, Roger." So basically, that scene introduced us to Daisha Tal, R5, and the boy and his father. So then cut to a shot of the Star Destroyer orbiting the planet. We see the officers on the bridge. One reports that the Jedi appears to have lost control of her ship and crashed. Pilots report her ship is completely destroyed, Commander, one of them says. Then we see my next main character, a smaller woman. Everything about her is buttoned up. So where Daisha is like big and strong, this is a little petite person, but sharp.
Dig it.
And despite her small size, there's no question that she's in charge of this bridge. She narrows her eyes and she says, "Send a recovery team, contact the local government leadership, prepare to move troopers in all nearby settlements. If Daisha Tal is alive, I will know it." So he salutes her and steps out. And she says, "We may have just clipped the wings." She thinks to herself, or says to herself. So then we cut back to planet Gonda. At this point, we kind of see what was left of that massive battle, the destruction, especially the aerial bombardment.
Right.
So clone troopers are going through the wreckage and they're pulling out bits of Dacia's ship. One of them basically says, tells him, "Sir, we found a nearby truck. It appears to have been damaged in the battle, and there were 2 occupants, and the driver's dead. And what of the passenger? Alive, sir." Okay, so we see the troopers dragging the boy from before. He looks bloodied, and he's furiously kicking, and he's punching the trooper for dragging him. The officer gives a nod, and the trooper clocks him heavy with his gun. So we see the boy fall back dazed. The officers question the boy, aggressively kicking him. When he's slow to respond, the camera pans over, and we see the infamous rose of a Jedi, and beneath it we see Dacia's lips and lavender skin.
Nice.
She walks forward, and the troopers immediately pull their blasters. But then we see her use her, a classic Jedi mind trick. She waves her hand. Don't let her. The officer calls out, "Don't let her speak, you weak-minded fools. Shoot!" And then he goes, "No need." And she says, "We're not the ones you seek." Throwback to, A New Hope.
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, she says, "My son and I were out here catching fish, and the boy wasn't. There was no man in the truck, and there was no boy in the truck. It was just me and my son." And they go, "Oh, you're not the ones we speak." And then they go, "Find somewhere out to fish." And then she chides, the boy and says, "Yeah, I'm sorry about this," and then she drags him off. So basically, she was able to pull him out, and despite the fact that he's very bloodied and beaten at this time because A, the accident, and B, the troopers were, beating the hell out of him. So then we get to a shot of a clearing. It's nighttime, and the boy is laying down on a blanket. Dacia is tending to his wounds and going through her medical supplies. R5 whistles, and Dacia tells him to be quiet. She looks over the boy and tells him his wounds are severe. And then we hear a cry of a hawk. Dacia tells the bird to be quiet. We find out the boy's name is Rolvik Latour. And his father... they're basically Drydarian hawk breeders, which I thought was interesting. That's apparently a real bird in the Star Wars mythos. Mm-hmm. Anyway, they're training that hawk, and that was going to be Rolvik's first bird. And Dacia explains that it was Starfighter, as he named the bird, who told her of Rolvik. Because looking into the lore, it looks like some Jedi do have a connection to the animal kingdom. So I thought that would be interesting to see, like a power that we haven't seen before.
We haven't seen that before, at least that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
that's cool. I dig it.
So Dacia realizes that Rolvik will bleed out, and she's forced to take drastic measures. She draws her lightsaber, and we see the green glow. And she apologizes, and Rolvik asks weakly, "For what?" And then she cauterizes his wounds. We hear screaming, and she says, "I'm sorry, I'm not a healer." Again, kind of a allude to other powers we've seen.
I dig it.
So we see the concern on her face as she runs her hand over his forehead, sweat pouring down his face. He asks, "Are you a Jedi? I've heard stories." Dacia explains he's going to have to forget those stories, forget what he saw. Deep in the forest, Dacia and R5, they've set up their small camp, and Dacia looks over at over the lightsaber, studying it. So we see a long look at her specific blade, the craftsmanship and everything. She then ignites it and then pierces a boulder with it, and then which makes a hole. She turns off the lightsaber and drops it into the boulder, and then uses her force power to like kind of crush the boulder in. So I kind of wanted to recreate a sword in the stone kind of thing, like Excalibur.
Cool.
And basically, this is her kind of think in order to hide with everything that she's lost, everything she's going through, that scene's kind of symbolic of her trying to find a new path. So she's given up her blade. So she explains to him that if anyone were to see this weapon, word would get to her enemies. You've already paid the price for my past. I must abandon those ways and go into hiding so others are not hurt. She then looks over at R5, and then she says, it'll be risky to have you with me, too. He whistles and chirps defiantly, and she chuckles. She goes, don't worry. You look like such a piece of garbage. I doubt anyone will question us. Still, let's give you a bit of a paint job or something. And then R5 whistles and everything. So a little bit of levity at the end to kind of lighten the mood. So back up on the Star Destroyer, we see the commander again. We find out her name is Rylikin Embalad. She walks into a room, she activates a hologram and stands at attention. And then we see Vader come on the hologram because I believe in this time period he was also out hunting Jedi. And he says, report, Commander. And she reveals that they followed the Jedi criminal to Gonda. It appears the Jedi Deschatel's craft was shot down, and the engine core ruptured, killing her in the process. Vader nods. He tells her she'll be contacted with new orders. Commander Reichland speaks hesitantly, and she has to stay. She wants to ensure the Jedi did not somehow survive. She's already reached out to locals and issued rewards for any information on the Jedi. She comments, if Dechatel is alive and ignites her lightsaber anywhere on that planet, I will know. So again, it sort of does that thing that the lightsaber is the key to Dacia's location. So as soon as, and it's also the key to her being a Jedi. So the second she activates it, she's reclaiming her past, but she's also giving up her hiding spot.
Right.
And I think it also, that scene kind of establishes Commander Rylikin as kind of like a Captain Ahab character. So something is going on. She's tied to Dacia in some way. So back to Planet Gonda. Dacia, Rolvik, and R5 are walking together down a dirt road through this kind of idyllic farmland. Rolvik appears to have recovered at this point. His wounds are good enough that he can travel. Dacia is no longer wearing the Jedi robes, but she still kind of covered herself in wraps head to toe to cover up her lavender skin. R5 is following at a distance. He's very unhappy. We can see that Dacia's repainted him and even like glued welded bits of metal and stuff on him so that he looks even crappier. So yeah, he's just not happy with his situation in life. And then we see Starfighter flying from tree to tree. So Rolvik asked about that, and you found me because of Starfighter, and she says, yeah, I've already told you that, and you got to forget everything you know about me. Rolvik protests, and Dacia eventually gives in. She explains that it was the bird who told her that Rolvik needed help. And he keeps asking more about the Jedi combat prowess. Can she train him? And she kind of stops and turns to him very serious. She says, you have hatred in you for what happened to your father. You seek to learn how to fight so you can get revenge. His face twists in anger. The Empire pay for coming here. Dacia explains that she's not a Jedi anymore. You must remember that, or many people will get hurt. And that if she was a Jedi, she could not train him. His hatred will lead him down on a path to the dark side. Rolvik goes off in a huff. Dacia follows, and they come across an elderly couple. Yeah, cart for some technology, and it's a hover, partners to help the couple. She uses the Force covertly or things to lift the car out of the mud. And then her and R5 start working on skills, still angry.
like R5.
Daisha begins chatting with the old man that her and Ulrich are traveling laborers, just looking for any work they can find. The old woman kind of senses Rolvik's frustration, and she goes and brings him a hot drink and a cake. We find out the older couple's name are One and Colney Rim, and they are basically an old couple. They have a farm, and they could use some laborers. They can't pay them much, but a place to sleep and place that you can hang out. So this is perfect for Daisha and Rolvik, as they've got nowhere else to go. So I think on this part, we're kind of seeing Daisha move away from the life she knew and start moving into a new life. And having been, I imagine being a Jedi, I mean, that was her whole life. And so we get to see her in an environment that's very different to that, slower, peaceful.
Right.
So over some time, we see Daisha learning to fit into this kind of sleepy farming community. She makes friends and learns a new life, one that doesn't require combat, but requires its own form of discipline. We also see that One was a former pilot in the Republic before he retired and bought his farm. And in the barn, he still has an old Alpha 3 Nimbus class V-wing starfighter, kind of, rusting away in there. Nice. Rolvik, having worked in this kind of life, takes to his work easy enough. And he just starts helping out around the farm, but he's growing more and more distance as time goes on. He believes that Daisha can help him get revenge, and he seeks for her to teach him, but as she said multiple times, that's not something she can do. Meanwhile, we see more of the Empire's presence on the planet. They start letting the locals drive their resources. They search for Daisha. They start contacting the different areas, all in a hunt for her. Rolvik eventually is on a delivery, and he comes across a trooper. He's bringing vegetables to basically the local suppliers into town. So he's really pissed off because of everything that he's gone through dealing with his father and the fact that Daisha won't teach him. And he's just been sitting there brewing on this for a while now. So, but he's not stupid enough to mess with this trooper directly. But it doesn't matter because the trooper can just kind of feel that hatred coming off him. He's just staring him down as he's bringing these vegetables to town. So he's unloading his goods, and they take notice and they begin to question him. As they do so, it starts getting more aggressive. They begin to push him, and they're basically just trying to tempt him, get him to do something stupid so they can fight back. He holds himself back until one of the troopers pulls his blaster and shoots Rolvik's hawk.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we see Starfighter die.
No.
That's the last little shred in Rolvik, and it breaks him. So he snaps. He's pure rage. Tears are going down his face. I imagine, those kids back in grade school when they fight and they get all teary and like, ah! Yeah, that guy. So he screams, "I'll kill you all!" And then we see the hum. We see the green glow, and we hear the hum of a lightsaber. Rolvik runs one trooper through, so he obviously went and got the lightsaber. The other trooper backs up in surprise, and then Rolvik rushes him. But trained trooper against a kid with a sword, he just backs up and then hits him in the shoulder with the butt of his gun. Kicks the lightsaber away, and then beats him unconscious with a baton. So after that tearful, bloody scene, we cut to Daisha, who's standing in a pasture, and she's just feeding the animals. She's gently talking to each one. R5 is hooked up to a cart, and he's pulling feed along with him. And she kind of laughs at him. You're better. You're a better draft force than you are an astromech droid. He chirps angrily. I'm just messing with you. She then stops and stares off into the distance. That kind of Jedi ability. She senses something's wrong. She hurries back to the farm. As she does, she sees a transport flanked by two TIE fighters fly overhead. She gets there just in time, and not just in time. She gets there too late, I should say, and she finds there's a charred corpse on the ground. One is weeping over his deceased wife. So for the first time since we meet Daisha, she breaks down. She sees that she's brought this to these people that have been nothing but kind and gave her a home. And because of her, she sees that another person's dead. Or so she believes. She cries and she says, "I'm so sorry I brought this to your door." But one, for some reason, he never blames Daisha. He kind of finds that inner strength that some people have in real hardship. His wife's body, and one tells Daisha that Kalni knew what Daisha was. That Kalni knew that Daisha was a Jedi. She's seen it before. He was once a pilot for the Republic. Kalni took him in and gave him a place to rest and heal. So essentially, this was her doing the same thing for Daisha. Eventually, he was able to give up his life and become a farmer. So he was once a warrior as well. He didn't want to He didn't really want to. He didn't want one to take Daisha in because he feared the Empire would follow. But he knew that Kalni would never allow herself to turn away Daisha and Rolvik. Daisha, still distraught, continues to ask for forgiveness. One tells her that Kalni believed in Daisha. The things Daisha can do must be a heavy burden for anyone to bear. But she believed in the Jedi. She believed that they are the ones that can restore peace to the galaxy. One pleads with Daisha. Kalni was there for you when you needed a place to rest. I'm sorry, but you must carry this. I'm sorry you must carry this burden, but we need you to be there for the rest of us. So again, this gets back into the theme that I was trying to go with, that it's the Jedi. It's like a terrible burden because everything that they have to go through to be these kind of godlike beings, but you have to do it.
Yeah,
they're the only ones that can bring about peace. It's something that they have to do. So it's the honor of the Jedi. So then we see kind of the classic suiting up scene, if you will. Daisha gets ready. She collects what weapons she can find. And then one says, you'll need help. She's like, this isn't your fight. And you've done any more than anyone could ask and paid a heavy toll. And then one says, they came to my farm, killed my wife, and you think I won't do anything about it? And then so she said, all right, well, what do you suggest? So then they go out to the barn, and then, woof, there we see it, the Alpha 3 Nimbus class starfighter.
Nice.
He says, I may need your droid's help to get her running, but I think she'll fly. So we have this old warrior as a pilot, and then we have Daisha, the Jedi, and they have reason to go after the Star Destroyer itself. But basically, he returned to that stone every chance he got when he was out on deliveries. And the blade is, because of the way she cut into the rock and dropped it in there, the lightsaber was unreachable unless you have the Force. And he saw her do that. So he was out there practicing every day, trying to make something happen. Eventually, he moved a pebble. And then he did it again and again, moving pebble after pebble after pebble every day after day. And then one day, he was able to pull the blade out.
Nice.
We see him light the night sky with the green glow, holding it over his head in triumph. And then cut back to him. He gets hit again. One of the troopers is just working him. He glares angrily, just all this rage he has for the Empire. He's delirious from the beating, and he just says they will all pay under his blood, under the blood in his mouth. And a trooper walks in, gives the commander a report, says they went to the farm that the boy worked at, and questioned an old couple that owned the property. They confirmed that the boy worked for them, but they claimed they've never seen a woman with purple skin. They even killed the old woman, and they still couldn't get any information. So upon hearing that, Rolvik loses it even more. He heard that that one has been killed, and then we see the lightsaber twitch in the commander's hand. Not enough to pull it completely out of her hand, but she felt it, and she goes, "Interesting." The interrogator punches him again, and pull the lightsaber ends. Rolvik kind of passes out. And she says, keep him under guard. Lord Vader will be interested in this one. So clearly we found a Force user here. Nice. And the commander is aware of it. And so a trooper comes into the room and says, they're questioning you on the bridge. An old model starfighter is approaching fast. She says, well, have you found... Well, you have finally decided to show yourself, they should tell. Commander Reichland smiles. She heads out of the room, stowing the lightsaber in her belt. So then we cut to an awesome space battle at this point. Nice. We see the old Alpha 3 Nimbus-class starfighter diving, rolling, blasting TIE fighters, swooping in low across the starfighter, just firing across. It's one of those underdog space battles. There's no way this thing could win. Right. It's old. It's, taking on a freaking Star Destroyer. But that's not the plan. Eventually, the ship is damaged. Daisha, knowing her opponent, Commander Reichland orders a tractor beam, sends it out. She wants to be face-to-face with Daisha. And so she brings all of her troops into the bay. They start pulling in the old starfighter. Cut to the brig. We see the door of Rolvik's cell open. A cloaked figure steps into the room. With a gesture, the troops fly back and are slammed into the wall hard enough to daze them. Rolvik looks up through swollen eyes and sees Dacia's concerned face. While one is busy keeping the TIE fighters at bay, Dacia had quietly slipped aboard a transport and made her way onto the Star Destroyer from planet side. Basically, if you remember, all those troopers were out in the different areas. She just slipped onto a transport. And,
nice. It's like a reverse Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Rolvik looks at her. He's all beaten, bloodied. He croaks, "They killed old Lady Carney." And she says, "They did." And she starts unbuckling. She explains, "It's because of me." He says, "It's because of me." She says, "You can wield the Force. I could sense it from when I first saw you. It was why your hawk was able to find me. I sensed anger and hatred in the Empire for what happened to you, for what happened to your father. I've seen firsthand what happens when you train someone with that kind of hatred in the Force." He says, old Lady Carney," he kind of trails off, beaten, hurt. She says, "The will of the Force has put you and I together. I need you to see where that hatred leads. Death and vengeance is never the way. You must only ever draw your blade to protect those that can't protect themselves. Do you understand, Rolvik?" Rolvik looks up, still beaten, bloodied, and he sees Dacia ready to save him once again. And for the first time, he's got a little bit of understanding. And he says again, "I need your help, Rolvik, but you have to let the hatred go." Rolvik closes his eyes, frees his mind, and he feels the light side of the Force for the first time. He says, "What do you need, Dacia?" "For starters, I need you to change clothes. I have an old friend I need to visit. While I do that, I need you to take care of something for me." So we see, I mean, we see him finally understanding, and I think when we saw with the prequels, the whole like, oh, they trained Anakin and he became Vader and everything. Like I was kind of hinting at that,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I feel like the will of the Force threw those people together. So clearly, Anakin was always meant to be, and I think she understands that about Rolvik.
Right.
That show because they found each other, and as they've always, we always see throughout all the movies that there is a will in the Force itself.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut to the shuttle bay. Troopers are lined up, their blasters trained on the old ship. Commander Rylakin stands stiffly, but she's got that hint of a smile. She speaks up. It's over, Jedi. Accept your fate. You died the day I received my orders. From behind them, Daisha walks in, and again that scene that I have in my brain where it's the black cloak and the purple skin, just
that Jedi profile.
Yeah, but that lavender,
Yeah.
just her chin and her lips, that's what we see.
I dig it.
And she says, funny, that's not how I remember it. The troopers turn, point their weapons at Daisha. The ship's cockpit opens, and we see, one. And he says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I got enough thermal detonators in here to blow the shuttle bay wide open. The commander raises one arm, signaling the troopers to hold their fire. Let's finish this. Let's finish what we started that day. I'm what you want. That's why you knew you would bring the ship. That's why I knew you would bring the ship aboard. Commander Reichland, very well. I believe you'll need this. She tosses the Jedi her lightsaber. She removes her command jacket, and we see that most of her body has been replaced by cybernetics.
Nice.
And she says, I've upgraded myself and trained every day, so I would be a match for you. The troopers step back. Commander Rylakin draws draws two vibro eskrima.
Nice.
And the Jedi pulls her lightsaber, and now we have that classic Jedi samurai v samurai scene, where they slowly move towards each other.
Yeah.
So the commander's enhancements basically it's allowing her to match a Jedi.
So almost like General Grievous, a little bit.
Yeah, but I wanted it more subtle than that.
Yeah.
When he just split and started spinning, I'm just thinking she's faster, stronger. She can take blunt force, like if she's thrown against a wall. I'm more. If you remember that scene in The Mandalorian when the Jedi fought the one lady with the Beskar staff.
Yeah.
Like that was perfect. That was exactly. You felt like you're watching a samurai movie. So I'm thinking the same thing. You got space in the background, the ships around, the troopers hanging back.
Nice.
So they start to face off. Meanwhile, Rolvik, having talked to Daisha, is busy sabotaging the ship's engines. He's quietly moving through those really dumb walkways without guardrails and turning stuff off. It's causing alarms to register. Basically, he's turning off all the engines, causing all sorts of problems. And then we see the outside shot of the Star Destroyer as it starts to kind of nosedive towards the planet.
Nice.
So chaos erupts throughout the ship at this point. Daisha and the Commander Rylakin, they're battling, and now it kind of gets interesting because as the ship nosedives, we see them like fighting on the walls and the ceiling, and stuff's flying. They're leaping off the ships and everything.
Cool. Like, oh yeah, I can see that. We haven't seen that before. I don't think we've seen that before in Star Wars, but that's totally cool. I dig it.
So the commander is lost in a rage, and she doesn't notice that she's losing her ship because again the Captain Ahab,
right.
Doesn't matter. She's got to kill Daisha. The lurching ship causes one's ship to fall backwards, and he falls through that kind of like that they have, and he's back out into space. Explosions are going off, and Rolvik manages to make it to an escape pod, and he's just waiting for Daisha. And he's just, come on, Daisha. He's starting to plead. The commander and the Jedi is still locked in their acrobatic duel. The commander, even if you escape me, I'll hunt you to the ends of the galaxy. You'll never escape me, Jedi. The Empire will hunt you forever, and I will see to that. Daisha says, the Empire will hunt me forever. I see that. That is the burden I bear. But one day the Force will be restored, and peace will once again come to the galaxy. That is why I must bear this burden. You, however, have lost everything in your rage. Look around you. Your ship is lost. Still just blind in her rage, she moves forward. Daisha moves forward with focus. They both leap, and then that final, like, two samurai leaping coming together.
Right.
And then see the commander's body fall down, dead.
Nice.
Cut back to Rolvik. He's firing his blaster, basically trying to keep the final escape pod free. Troopers are blasting back at him, and the Star Destroyer continues to fall. Then we see the green hue of Dacia's lightsaber, and she says, I thought I told you not to wait for me, and the ship goes into free fall. And he goes, I know, but I felt you. I cannot explain it, but I knew you needed me to wait. Dacia smiles and says, I felt you too. They slip into the pod after taking care of the remaining troopers. No real problem. You got a Jedi with you. The Star Destroyer starts coming apart as it hits the atmosphere. I'm not even sure if that's something that happens in Star Wars, but whatever.
It actually happened in Episode 3, if you remember, when that ship, in the very beginning, remember? When they fought Green detached and...
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. Anyway, so their pod spins out of control, and they watch as they helplessly fly towards more wreckage. But then they hear chirping overboard and over the sound system, and it's clearly R5, and Daisha, R5! And then you hear one call out, don't worry, young lady, we got you. And he fires a line from a ship. Again, I don't know if that exists, but just to make it easy, it does. It catches their escape pod.
Special modification.
Yeah. Daisha and Rolvik watch as the Star Destroyer continues to crumble and ultimately crashes into the ocean. She tells them they'll continue to be hunted, and she knows, and who knows what will come next. They have a lot more work to get Rolvik ready before that happens, and they cannot stay on Gonda anymore. So then elsewhere, we see Vader kneeling before the Emperor's hologram. He explains the Jedi managed to escape the pursuit of a Star Destroyer. There are also reports of a young man the commander believes we might be interested in. Then we hear the Emperor's voice. Yes, I have seen this. You will take up the hunt for this Jedi. Bring me the boy. I wish to know more. And then we cut to the classic Star Wars.
Hold on. Wait. Written and directed by who?
I guess written by me, directed by Ron
Howard.
Yeah, how would I want to direct it? I haven't thought of it. That's a good question. Let me. I mean, my favorite director is probably Quentin Tarantino, but I don't see him doing this.
No. Yeah, actually, what's his name? Woo.
Who was the guy that did District 9 and then he did Elysium? Maybe that guy.
Blomkamp? Is that his name? Written and directed by. So that concludes the first pitch. All right. Good job, man. I dug it.
Thanks. So what did you think?
So I like...
Yeah, Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, Blomkamp. He hasn't done anything in a while. It's a shame. He almost had a M. Night Shyamalan syndrome where he's just nailed it right up to plate his first go, and then he kind of wavered a little bit, and he's kind of fallen off a tiny bit. So yeah. But anyways, I dug it. I like R5. I'm an astromech guy. R2 is one of my favorites. Um, I like the battle on the Star Destroyer because we haven't seen something like that before. I mean, we've seen it in other movies, but not in a Star Wars film. What would it be like for a Jedi to be fighting on a starship, somebody of equal power that's crashing? We kind of saw it in Episode 3, but not really. I mean, it was more of them trying to escape.
Yeah.
I dug it. And as far as like ships in Star Wars, like it seems like every ship in Star Wars is like modified somehow. At least like the Millennium Falcon is just a transport ship. Yet it has like 100 things on it. So it's perfectly acceptable for
To catch that,
ship had some type of like
sees that in her, she sees that in him. And then Rylikin, she was, I remember it. So that also leads in.
reckless leap to Obi.
Yeah, you're right. Let's not get into this.
We're not in.
Did you and stuff like that?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's no way you can say.